Edmund Burke once said, "I thought 10,000 swords must have leapt from their scabbards to avenge even a look that threatened her with insult." He said this, of course, about Marie Antoinette. But wouldn't you say the same about the Princess of Wales, where today, in a money-making, publicity-seeking scheme, Omid Scobie, the author of Finding Freedom, a book that detailed the lives of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, is back with more royal intrigue and allegations, including criticism of Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales. This odious blighter, thought by some to be the mouthpiece of the Sussexes, attacks our future Queen, as well as the Prince of Wales, whom he portrays as a cold and ruthless figure, eagerly anticipating his ascent to power. Pipsqueak Scobie takes it a step further, alleging that Prince William harbours a formidable temper, expertly concealed in public, and characterising him as reserved on the pitch but unpredictable in private. However, there are questions about the connection with the Sussexes and whether his assertions are influenced by them. Despite refusing an association with them previously, apparently the Duchess had reached out, and reached out is one of those particularly loathsome terms, to Scobie, according to Good Morning America.
And guys, there was so much more in our interview. Omid tells us that he often felt as if he was caught up in a family drama and that Meghan even reached out to him just to check in on him to see if he was okay. He also says that despite rumors, he's actually not even that close with Harry and Meghan and that he never chose Team Sussex.
I'm now joined by royal broadcaster and historian Rafe Heydel-Mankoo. Rafe, thank you for coming in. He is an odious little fellow, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, you know, he has spent so many years now as a propagandist-in-chief to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and let's be clear, they are clearly involved here. We know that he's already said that through friends of his, at least, he has access to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and this is just the latest show in the Montecito World Privacy Tour. It's called Endgame, you know, and it sort of reminds me of one of those superhero franchise films where the royal family are cast as the villains and Team Sussex are the avengers yet again.
But it doesn't work. He's actually succeeded in making the King, the Queen and the Prince and Princess of Wales more popular because people think, poor them having to put up with these bitter attacks from California.
Well, precisely. I think one has to ask what the motivation is here. And I think the title Endgame can apply more perhaps to Omid Scobie's life than it does actually to the monarchy because, of course, you know, the Sussex star is fading. And one has to ask, you know, when he served for the last few years as the, you know, the selfie stick in waiting to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, what does the future hold for such a person once that reserve of royal revelations is exhausted and the tank, as we see from this book, is running empty? This is just a rehash. I mean, rehash would be a much better title for this book than Endgame, and he has to actually think about his future. And I think writing this book now, when he knows essentially the Sussexes' popularity is falling, the public have no interest in them any longer, they've become a laughingstock around the world, and their projects are failing everywhere. And I think this book is one of the last big opportunities he has to monetize the monarchy and profit from the monarchy's misfortune, unfortunately.
Well, not really the monarchy's misfortune. I mean, it's a private distress, no doubt, for the King and the Prince of Wales that they're no longer as friendly as they once were with the Duke of Sussex, which doesn't make a blind bit of difference constitutionally. The monarchy, which maintains the support of the British people, and Scobie himself refers to the Princess of Wales as an institutional dream come true. And that's it, isn't it? She has that dutiful appearance, the sublimating of herself to the institution, which is what we admire in our royalty, which the Princess Royal has achieved and the Queen, the late Queen, achieved in being the absolute epitome of duty and service to the country and not being about their own inner private lives, which, frankly, are a matter for them, not for the British public to worry about.
You couldn't have put it better, Jacob. And as the Queen obviously famously said, never complain, never explain. And I think the last 3 years since the first of these stories began to come out from Omid Scobie, the royal family's response, which has been to simply ignore it, to carry on business as usual, has been the source of their recent success and the reason why the monarchy continues to ride high. And actually the contrast between the two camps actually shows the very best of British in our members of the royal family, particularly, as you say, the Prince and Princess of Wales, who've never been more popular with the public.
And it's right as well, isn't it, that all families, no doubt, have their issues that they have to face and overcome. But the privilege of the royal family is so great that they can never complain and maintain public sympathy, that it always looks so utterly self-indulgent. Telling people about the real me is not really for royalty.
I mean, that's exactly correct. And in this book, for example, yet again, we have another rehashing of who made who cry. And one has to think, in this day and age, given what's happening around us on all different sorts of levels, politically, economically, these sorts of trivialities just seem to portray anyone who continues to promote them in the worst possible light.
And that must be right. Again, I mean, you've had this terrible attack in Israel, 1,400 people killed, and somebody's worrying about whether she was made to cry and whether her sister-in-law was particularly open and
that's
friendly.
my problem here. I mean, I don't mind anyone criticising the monarchy if they're doing it from an educated perspective and they put forward sound and reasoned arguments. I may disagree with them, but this is the most vacuous, sort of shallow and superficial book. It doesn't deserve a place on a shelf with the biographies of people like William Shawcross or Sarah Bradford or Hugo Vickers. This is tittle-tattle, it's gossip, and it doesn't do well, it shouldn't be categorised as a royal biography. It's simply gossip.
And it's very chippy, isn't it, that actually the royal family that is still here in the United Kingdom is being very successful by following the model that really comes down to us from, I suppose, late Victoria, but certainly from George V, of carrying out their duty, being above politics and not focusing on themselves, from the Sussexes, about whom it's all them.
And it's also about, of course, the monarchy being not just head of state, but head of nation, the emotional, almost the spiritual heart of the nation, the focal point. And it's the aspect of the monarchy as the welfare monarchy, as it used to be called, engaged in community work, engaged in acts of social cohesion, charity work, looking at everyone from the Girl Guides to the soup kitchens to St John's Ambulance, the unsung heroes of Britain, the unsexy issues, whereas other people like the Sussexes choose to go for those sorts of issues that have celebrity causes behind them.
And isn't it amazing how week in, week out, the Duke of Kent and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester are out there day after day with these unfashionable institutions, making them happy and putting a little bit of royal glamour into people's lives?
I mean, I think the Gloucesters and the Kents really epitomise the very essence of nobility and what the royal ethic of duty and service and sacrifice is all about. They should now be enjoying their retirement, and they're still being forced to actually carry on many more duties than they should.
Well, I'm going to have to force you into momentary retirement because I've got to move on, but thank you, Rafe.